My guest is Aaron Rotenberg, and he's from Toronto. Welcome to the show, Aaron.
Thanks, Howard.
How did you get into the Judean desert from Toronto?
The Judean desert. So yeah, it's been a bit of a journey, but I was doing a Jewish studies program in New York.
Where?
With a Jewish theological seminary.
Oh, you were there. I see.
So I was doing my undergraduate degree there.
You planning to become a rabbi?
So.
Or is that just in the back possibility?
Still up in the air.
I see.
It's a graduate degree, and that's still a while off for me. But I knew that I wanted to spend some time in the region, and I heard about the AIM Prot program, and
Where did you hear about it from?
So they actually were hoping to start a specifically English-speaking program, which I think, due to a number of reasons, didn't work out in the end. But there was a representative who came to New York, and I had a friend who studied at Hebrew U with Micha, who sent me an email about the program.
You have to study with this guy. He's terrific.
Yeah,
and all
you got to
that.
study with him.
I see.
He's a wonderful teacher. And so a few different sources came together, and I got in touch with Avi Pupko, who's actually from Montreal, who's a teacher here too. And we chatted about the program, and I came over to visit when I first got to Israel and decided it's the right place for me.
But you, unlike most of the students in the program, were from Israel. How many are from abroad, by the way?
So we are 4 in total.
4 in total out of how many?
Out of 60.
So 4 from abroad. North Americans, the 4?
Yeah.
And you come here, and all these other people have had army experience.
Right.
And you haven't.
That's
what
true.
difference does that make?
So we have, I guess the army does seem to come up pretty frequently, I guess in classes when we're studying certain books like the book of Joshua.
Yeah.
There's always some military terminology flying back and forth. And also, a lot of people have just come out of their army service, so it's on people's minds and people are talking about it. So I feel like I'm learning about it, but it's not, I guess it is sort of a gap in my understanding of Israeli culture and what's going on
Yeah,
here.
because you're not, you don't have the Israeli culture. How's your Hebrew?
Improving.
So when you went through chat, but you never really learned Hebrew in a way.
Right. So in chat, we didn't really get the chance to speak Hebrew, although we had some classes in Hebrew. And yeah, this has really been my first immersion experience and my first chance to really listen and learn.
Now you're almost through the program. What did you get out of it? Would you advise people to do it?
Absolutely.
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 For anybody or just some people?
So I think you need to have a certain level of Hebrew
Yeah.
because all the classes are conducted in Hebrew. But it's really a unique place in that it's very open to people coming from all sorts of backgrounds. I sort of find myself in a place that's in between different streams of Judaism. I'm still sort of searching for my place, and I think a lot of
which
people.
streams? Were you brought up Orthodox, conservative, or secular?
So, I think I was brought up what could be described as conservative leaning.
I see.
And then my parents, when they tended to go to synagogue, it was to a conservative synagogue. And through going through chat, I learned more about Judaism, explored more, and by the end of chat, I considered myself Orthodox.
I see.
And I spent a year at Yeshiva University in New York as an Orthodox student, and then transferred to the Jewish Theological Seminary as an Orthodox student, but became more conservative, and now am, I think, undefined at the moment.
You're undefined. So Micha said, people go through this program to discover who they are, and you discover who you aren't, and you're more indefinite? Is that what happened?
Right, but indefinite in a comfortable way. I think a lot of people here, although one of the big interesting draws of the place is that it brings together the religious and secular communities in Israel, but I think the people who come here are very unique in a number of ways. And one of the ways is that they're secular people who are interested in studying more, learning more scripture, rabbinic texts, and are interested in something that's not what they're used to. And also the religious students are obviously interested in learning Western philosophy and literature and being open to other Jews with a very different view of Judaism. So there is a lot of gray that's, because there's a lot of overlap, there is a lot of gray. And I feel like everybody who's coming from all sorts of different backgrounds can find a place to be comfortable.
Aaron, here you have this thing, but you also they came with army experience. They're studying Plato, but you've got a degree. You've got an undergraduate degree. Did you find when they're studying these subjects, there was a big gap between you and them when you did Plato or something like that?
Right. So I guess through my liberal arts degree, I did encounter a lot of the big names, I think, both on the Jewish side of things and on the secular side of things. And for me personally, how it turned out is that edge was helpful because I was able to follow the classes and understand the Hebrew.
Also, because you had the handicap of the Hebrew, but the extra benefit of knowing the books better,
that is sort of
balanced it out. I see.
But
did your parents encourage you to come here? Or did they say, oh, if you want to do it, fine?
They were supportive.
Okay.
They, of course, were sad to see me travel so many miles from home.
Well, they can come over and see you. So it's
hopefully sometime soon.
And what's your plans now? What do you plan to do?
So it's up in the air. So I have a month more to go here, and then I hope to stick around for at least another year.
Oh, in Israel?
In Israel.
Do you know what you're going to do?
So, not yet. I'm planning to start a job search sometime soon.
Oh, I see. So you're going to work.
Work, that's the plan.
And the friends here, unlike the Israelis who they're going to be friends for the rest of their life. They form, Israelis in the army and then programs like this form their real lifelong friends. You're in a different situation. You haven't decided to make Aliyah. You haven't decided to move here, I assume.
That's right.
So you have this kind of thing where you make friends, but it's not quite the same commitment. Does that affect your relationships in the program or not?
It's interesting, because I think that may be true. I guess the assumptions behind those questions, that I may not be staying here and people might be making lifelong friendships. But I think my peers, the students here, don't really see it that way. I don't feel that we are any less close or that they're any less warm because I may potentially be going back to Canada. And I think that for me, the people who I'm meeting here will also be my lifelong friendships.
I see. But they were also very interested in forming the future leadership of Israel. And if you go back, do you think this sort of leadership training is going to do some have value for you in Canada, if you're back in Canada or somewhere in North America?
Sure. So I think if I'm involved in the Jewish community in Canada, which is a possibility, I think that the experience I've had here and the insights I've gained here will have me in leadership roles in the Jewish community in Toronto and North America.
So, and is your thinking about what you want to do been shaped by this experience? I mean, because if you go to the Jewish Theological Seminary, you're just generally saying, well, I might think about being a rabbi or something like that, or a community worker or something like that in the Jewish society. That's still part of your possible roles?
I guess it's a possibility. I think I really have been using this time as, I guess, to have some time and a place to relax and not concentrate too much on thinking about what's next.
Oh,
sort of as a break after
career.
college.
Yeah, I see. So instead of traveling, it's a kind of process of self-discovery. So this is your gap year.
Yeah. So this has been my gap year.
I see. Well, it's an interesting kind of gap year.
Sitting in the
Judean desert with flies all around in the heat. I mean, is it some 40 degrees here?
Yeah, it's been getting hotter.
It gets hot here and uncomfortable. I mean, it's one thing to escape the cold of Canada for this.
For the opposite extreme.
Yeah. Anyway, Aaron, I'm glad you came. I'm glad I hope you got something out of the program, as I'm sure you have. And I'd be interested in talking to you in a couple of years, if you're back in Toronto, call me, because I'd like to see in a couple years how the program has affected you. Thanks for coming.
Great. Thanks. Thank you, Howard.
Next week, we discuss Parkinson's disease and the possibility of halting and even reversing its effects. The peace process is analogous, characterized by rigidity, tremors, abnormal posturing, and an inability to move forward with grace. In the extreme, we find cognitive dysfunction. Join us next week for Parkinson's and the peace process.